Welcome, everyone. My name is Maida Galvez. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Community Engagement Core Director here at Mount Sinai in New York City, the Core Center for Environmental Health Sciences. And it is such an honor to welcome you all to today's NIEHS Environmental Health Sciences Core Center's Community Forum, focused on anti-racism, environmental health, and justice. The purpose of the Community Forum is to collectively check in with all of you, with our community partners across the country who are active within the EHSCC Community Engagement Cores. We thank you all for being here today. Our hope is to foster a space where we can have brave conversations about advancing anti-racism and environmental justice within environmental health research, education, and in our communities more broadly. I'd first like to highlight who's with us today. Community Engagement Core faculty and staff from across the country, directors and deputy directors from centers who have made the time to be here today. Also, I want to highlight the many community partners from across the country who are able to join us. It's your participation that is so critical to the center's work and research. I also want to recognize our colleagues at NIEHS who make this work possible. We're able to provide this forum via live stream to a wider audience connected to our centers, including faculty and trainees at our respective centers. If anyone in this meeting is not a center director, deputy director, CEC faculty or staff or community partner, please use the link in the chat to go to the live stream. Live stream viewers will have the option to submit questions through the participation feature. You can also select English or Spanish subtitles. Please note that the breakout sessions are at 1:50 p.m. and they will not be live streamed. But for those who are joining us in this way, please join us again at 2:20 for the final presentation by Dr. Sakobi Wilson, whose talk is sure to inspire us all to do more around our anti-racism initiative works in our work environments and in our communities. We have left time for discussion after each presentation, and my colleague Carla Azar here at Mount Sinai is going to help us watch the clock so we don't run over. Next slide, please. Before we get started, we want to emphasize the importance of recognizing and honoring one another for who we are. And if you're not familiar with pronouns, we want to make this a teaching moment. So to truly create a brave space today, it's important for all of us to practice not assuming people's gender based on their appearance. And for that reason, we ask all of us to remain mindful in how we show up to this space and respect people's pronouns. If you make a mistake, and we all do, quickly correct yourself. For example, if you misgender someone, you can say, "I am sorry, I meant," and insert the correct pronouns, they, them. She, her, he, his. I will make sure that won't happen again. We've included a link in the chat for you to learn more about why pronouns matter. And so in this next slide, we're going to review how to rename yourself in Zoom. When you rename yourself, include your name, your pronouns, and your center organization and affiliation. Give you a moment to do that. And before we get started, it is my distinct honor to now turn it over to the remarkable Luz Guel, who will be leading us in a land acknowledgement.
Thank you so much, Maida. My name is Luz Guel, my pronouns are they, them, and I work with Robert Wright, our chair, Maida Galvez, and Sarah Evans as part of our CEC to ensure that community concerns guide our center's research priorities. We want to take a moment to acknowledge that the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai sits on the occupied lands of the Lenape people. The United States is founded upon exclusion and erasures of many indigenous people, including those on whose land this institution is located. This acknowledgement is a first step in the commitment to work towards dismantling the ongoing legacies of genocide and settler colonialism. We encourage all folks that are calling from other locations to put in the chat whose land you're occupying. We also encourage folks to identify ways to go beyond land acknowledgement and towards solidarity. For example, to support indigenous people such as Eleni Lenape, who were forcibly displaced by European settlers and their descendants to create New York City, you can check out the following resources in the chat. We also want to acknowledge the current endemic and the collective trauma that we're all experiencing. We especially want to acknowledge the 10 Black folks that were murdered in a mass shooting by a white supremacist in Buffalo at a grocery store this past weekend. We openly condemn these brutal acts of violence against Black folks and people of the global majority. And as part of today's program, Almeda will be holding space for Black folks and people of the global majority to check in and support one another during this current pandemic. Let us remember the folks we lost this past weekend. Their names are Roberta Drury, Margus Morrison, Andre McNeil, Aaron Salter, Geraldine Talley, Celestine Cheney, Heward Patterson, Catherine Macy, Pearl Young, and Ruth Whitfield. And we're just gonna take a deep breath. And I hope all of us can remember that we lost these amazing folks this past weekend, and that we can make space for one another to take care of each other. And so to get us started, if you go to the next slide. The speakers for this year's community forum are Dr. Trevor Archer, Almeda Pitts, and Dr. Jacoby Wilson. And joining us today are 3 stellar colleagues from Mount Sinai that are leading incredible initiatives that promote environmental health and justice across our department.